Hi. Okay. So, news has dropped on the Interview with the Vampire series, which is supposedly going to be 8 episodes long, which is technically a mini-series. And, quite honestly, people are kind of upset about the cast picks. Gee, I wonder. Well, I have nothing to say about it. I am not entirely angry. Before I post anything on when I play my video game today, I'm going to make some big mentions here on my view. Whatever Anne and Christopher Rice have decided, it's their decision. They are the producers. They are the writers. They set up the lore. They set up the ideas. If Louis is a free black landowner in New Orleans, that is highly plausible because Feast of All Saints by Anne Rice actually discusses it. Okay? So, honestly, take that as you will, but also the first round of slavery abolishment in France was in 1794. In the opening of the movie, he says 1794. That's Louis. Honestly, I am just going to say it. There are a lot of things that are taken in context and out of context when writing a book. Many times adaptations change based on what the writer wants. Or adaptations go completely off the deep end. Take Aragon, for instance. Or, I'm pushing it, Redwall. If you watch the animated series, they took a lot of liberties in that. There are a lot of things that go awry in the series. And most of it is taken into the context of what the screenplay can go with and what can be done. Honestly, if I had it my way, I would have asked Anne to please consider doing an anime of Interview with the Vampire versus a live action. But that's just my decision. That's just my thought. But again, that's just my thought. The fans don't necessarily get to make those decisions. There are a lot of things that were taken out in Game of Thrones. There was a lot of scenes that were removed because it wouldn't have worked in the series. There were a lot of things that were removed in Aragon because they wouldn't have worked. There were a lot of things removed from different books, movies, and animes that didn't work. There's a lot of stuff that was removed from the Three Musketeers. We had an abridged version of the story. I mean, I will tell you that the Three Musketeers, and this is written by a quote-unquote black author, by the way, and here's my copy. Good old Dover. Let me put it to the very back and show you how many pages it is, because this took a lot of time for me. Yeah, 545 pages. Okay, here's another thing. They're also doing the Witching Hour, which has been on a discussion for years, and they have a lot of stuff to cover, and even Anne has said that there's no way they can cover 1,043 pages worth of work. And that's just my copy. The one I stole from my mom. I still haven't given that back to my mother. Oh wait, she never wanted it back anyway. But again, a lot of stuff was taken out. A lot of stuff was removed. Another good example, Red Dwarf. That series is a comedy, but there's another. Ta-da! Very dusty. Here's my copy of the first episode. There's a lot of stuff that's in this that took in 10 episodes to explain. And trust me, they explained it in 15 episodes. They had to cut out a lot of stuff. They had to take out certain things. So, yeah, that's a context issue. Now, just hold on a second. Okay, so before I actually hop on FF14 and start going on the little bit of the tangent about the whole thing, I'm going to mention a few things and say it in a very plain English way. Just because they're changing a couple of aspects of the book doesn't mean that the storyline is not going to change as much. So the background of Louis is going to change. Well, there's also other changes that happen in movies to books that many people don't take into context. And a lot of it is either going to work or it's going to bomb horribly. I think the worst would be, and don't get on me for saying it, The Golden Compass. That adaptation was terrible. But there's other adaptations of movies to books that pretty much fall under the same catalog of they changed it because it had to fit with a certain context. I have another example, and the change was so much better that it got more people to actually read this book. Mary Stewart's follows along the lines of Merlin, the TV series, and it got more people actually reading the book and finding out Merlin's backstory. Now, will that change for Interview with a Vampire? I don't know. It may open up an audience that hasn't been tapped into yet. I was a teenager when I saw the first Interview with a Vampire with Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, and Antonio Banderas. I was a teenager. I was not under that impression, but as I read the book, I realized that Lestat was fluid with who he liked. He didn't care if someone was black, white, Asian, Native American. He didn't care. He couldn't care less. That was his food source. And he usually went for somebody who broke the law. And honestly, yeah, Lestat is not a saint. He is not a good person. And people who forget that, he did some pretty nasty and gnarly things. So when I mention this to people, don't get upset over the movie. There are so many people who are going to be up in arms about this. In 5 years, we're probably not going to see that. Honestly, I'm kind of glad they got away from a lot of the other things. So, again, that's just my take. Take it or leave it. I have to go. I will be back online later. Talk to you later.